the United Kingdom left the European Union is because a majority by 52% to 48% voted to leave back in June 2016, and that is the mandate to which Brexiteers still refer when wanting to justify the United Kingdom's continued exit from the European Union. It's therefore reasonable to suggest that the first stepping stone, a necessary requirement at least, although certainly not a sufficient requirement, for the United Kingdom to rejoin the European Union is that public opinion and the balance of public opinion should be rather different from that in 2016, though of course, as I will come on to, how that public opinion gets refracted in the battle between the political parties is also likely to be a material consideration, because public opinion will only be expressed in a particular direction or another if there are one or more political parties that are espousing different points of view. So have we changed our minds? Are we now somewhat regretful about Brexit? Well, the answer to that is certainly seems to be yes. This is the question that YouGov have asked throughout the period from just after the 2016 referendum, and they've kept on asking it throughout that period. And I've summarised what is a very large number of results. And it simply says, in hindsight, do you think Britain was right or wrong to vote to leave the European Union? Initially, there was a small plurality who felt that it was right rather than wrong. Actually, the keynote event that saw public opinion switch in the other direction on balance was the 2017 general election. Theresa May's failure to get an overall majority and what was so, often regarded as a rather inept campaign seems to have been the first element of the decline in support for Brexit. Thereafter, it's bounced up and down to some degree, but you will notice that certainly during 2019, when there were doubts about whether Brexit would ever be delivered in the wake of the parliamentary stalemate, we were getting numbers of around 48% wrong, 40% right. That did then narrow once Brexit was delivered, but it widened again when we got closer to the cliff edge at the end of December 2020, and we were all wondering whether a trade and cooperation agreement would ever emerge. Once it was achieved, again, the balance of public opinion narrowed once again, but you will see during the course of the last year or so, we have now reached record levels of people saying that the decision was wrong. Still, saying it was wrong is one thing. Saying that you would now vote to do something different is another. So here is a summary of all of the opinion polls, and I should say that the number of polls used to be relatively small until quite recently, but all of the opinion polls that have asked people whether or not we should be inside or outside the European Union, and certainly for the last 18 months or so, those have all been polls that have asked people whether we should rejoin or stay out, rather than polls that ask remain versus leave. Now, some of this will already be familiar to you. You will see that in the immediate wake of the conclusion of the TCA at the beginning of 2021, we actually had a plurality of people again in favour of being outside the European Union. But then as we get towards the autumn of last year, we begin to see support for being inside the European Union emerge once again as the more popular option. What happens at this point in time? It is, of course, the first occasion when the possible disadvantages of Brexit became a media story, with shortages in the supermarket shelves and in the petrol stations. You will then see another period through basically the autumn of 2022, the Liz Truss administration, but also, of course, the cost of living crisis, the outlook for the UK economy becoming much worse. And we reached a position whereby around November or so, we were at around 57, 58% of people saying they would vote to rejoin. It's been steady since then. It's not a continuing path, but there is now more support for being inside the European Union than there has been at any time since the Brexit referendum.